So we're getting ready to make some immunity soup here. I've got my cookbook. I've already done the prep. So I've got some chopped onion. I have some chopped celery. I have some chopped ginger. A few lemon slices to throw in while the soup simmers. And I have some chopped up carrot. First thing I need to do is I need to put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. I've made this enough where I don't usually, I kind of eyeball it. I don't necessarily measure certain things out anymore. If you're making this for the first time and you want to follow the directions, by all means do so. That's what I usually do the first time that I'm going to make something. And I'm going to put my oven setting on about 6 so it can start to warm up. And the recipe calls for 3 pieces of garlic. You may not be able to tell, but these pieces of garlic are really big. I actually cut 1 slice of garlic in half to make my 3 pieces. The recipe says that you can chop or mince, but if you have one of these nifty little things, it's called a garlic press. It'll save you a lot of time, energy, and effort, because then all you have to do is peel the garlic. I'm going to put it in there, okay? And I am going to squeeze, and look at all of this garlic that comes out. And I'm going to clean this part out. A real chef probably wouldn't be doing this with their knives. These are the knives that we got when we got married, so they're about 16 years old. I don't necessarily have a professional set of knives, and I probably shouldn't because I'm continuing to do things like this. And let's get this final piece of garlic in here, okay? And you may not be able to see this, but garlic is starting to simmer, okay? I'm going here and I'm going to get out my trusty old spoon. It actually is kind of stained with the color of some turmeric because this is the spoon that I use to make this soup all the time. So I'm going to make sure my garlic is cooking, which it is. I can hear a little bit of a sizzle, okay? And now is the time that you would want to throw in the things that kind of like need to get a little bit of cook on them before you actually put in the broth. So I'm going to put in my pre-chopped carrots, okay? I'm gonna throw in my pre-chopped celery, okay? I'm gonna set this off to the side. And I am going to throw in my pre-chopped onion. I actually used a mandolin to kind of slice the onion really thin, and then I chopped it. That way it'll cook longer. This is just a personal preference for me because I do not like to, if I'm having soup or something and there's onion in there, I don't want to like feel the crunch of the onion while I am enjoying my soup. It's just got a weird texture thing for me. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to let this saute for a few minutes so that it can get nice and soft. In the meantime, I'm going to talk to you about what else you need to add. This is my minced ginger, okay? And the recipe doesn't call for it, but I always like to add a few slices of lime. Okay, and I actually also add the juice sorry, this isn't a lime. I like to add a few slices of lemon, and I actually also like to add the juice of about half of the lemon, whatever is left over. I already made immunity soup once this week, but I'm making it again so that I can show all of you guys. And you use about half a cup, sometimes I use 3/4 of a cup of orzo. You can also use any other kind of small pasta that you may have. Because this comes from a vegetarian cookbook, it suggests that you use vegetable broth, but you can also make it using chicken broth. Today I'm going to make it using vegetable broth, okay? You're gonna need some turmeric, you're gonna need some apple cider vinegar, and you're going to need some red pepper. The recipe also does say that you should add some salt and pepper, but I actually find that the broths usually have enough sodium in there where I don't necessarily need to add any extra salt. You can also get a low sodium version, which is what I have here. And I have had zero complaints with this and it always seems to still turn out very tasteful, flavorful. So I'm going to continue to give my vegetables a stir in here. Okay. Maybe turn up the heat just a tad. Okay. Now I'm also going to add the ginger. So this was about a 2-inch slice of ginger that I had used my potato peeler to peel off the skin, and then I did my best with my terrible knife skills to kind of chop it up or dice it really finely. Okay, and so I'm going to add that now. And fresh ginger is actually really fragrant. I suppose that you can use, you know, like dried ginger. I would check the serving size that you would need if you used the dried ginger or the powdered ginger. Okay, and once again, this comes from one of my new favorite cookbooks, The First Mess, and this is a vegetarian recipe. So while my vegetables have been cooking, I took the time to run out into my backyard garden, and I got some fresh parsley. It's wonderful, it's fragrant. Obviously you can buy fresh parsley at the grocery store, or you can use some dried parsley. I actually have so much parsley that I am going to end up drying mine in the sun and then chopping it up very finely and using it for dried parsley. Okay, so I am now going to take one of my vegetable broths, low sodium. I'm going to add this. You're eventually going to use 2 of these. Okay. And by this point in time, your vegetables and stuff that you've been sauteing have been cooking for at least 5 minutes, so everything is starting to soften up. Okay. And you're eventually going to bring your broth to a boil. Okay. And I use half a cup of orzo. If you don't have orzo pasta at home, you can always use some other small shaped pasta. This is not necessarily suitable for like big noodles or like spaghetti noodles or anything like this. You know, you want to be able to get it up on your spoon rather easily. Okay. And after you bring this to a boil and it's not quite boiling yet, okay, you would throw in your orzo. So in the meantime, I'm going to take my citrus press and I'm going to take this remaining piece of lemon that I have from here, and I am going to squeeze the fresh lemon into my immunity soup. Okay. The actual recipe in the book doesn't call for lemon, but I really like lemon orzo soup. So, and I try and add citrus to things when at all possible. Just think it's great. If you have compost, you can cut this up and add this to your compost after the fact. I will be doing so later. Okay. Also, one good thing about orzo is it cooks really, really quickly. So it's not like one of these pastas where it takes like 10, 15 minutes to cook. It actually is like fully done, like al dente, in about 7 minutes. And so I'm going to now add this to my soup, to my mixture. Okay. And I am going to now kind of start adding some stuff. Again, I've made this enough where I don't necessarily follow the instructions, I kind of eyeball things. The book says that you should be using, let's see, 2 teaspoons of turmeric. I actually followed that the last time. I thought it was maybe a little bit much. So I'm just gonna kind of do a little shake around the pan. That looks good enough. I did 1 shake and kind of covered the entire surface area lightly. My soup. Okay, again, turmeric, if you do not know, stains really, really badly. So be careful. Again, I don't know if you remember, but you saw my spoon at the very beginning. It is like permanently stained with the yellow from the turmeric. So this would be really bad for you to spill on your clothes, your tablecloth, something like that. But oh, this soup is so good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding red pepper flakes. Okay, this is more so to your taste in terms of how much heat or spiciness you like. Again, I've kind of thrown caution to the wind and I don't necessarily really measure things out. However, the recipe does say for a ½ teaspoon of dried chili flakes. I probably exceed that ½ teaspoon, and I usually just do the whole same thing I did with the turmeric, where I just kind of sprinkle, 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 till I kind of have got all corners or all bases covered. Again, going to give a stir. Okay. Now the broth, the mixture is coming to a boil. Okay, I'm going to add my chopped parsley, fresh from my garden. Okay. Again, I chopped a little bit of parsley. I didn't necessarily chop tons of parsley. It says, the book says for, let's see, 1/3 cup. I'm not necessarily that big of a fan of parsley, so I probably went a little on the easy side. Okay. I'm now going to add my lemon. Again, like I said, the lemon part of this recipe is an addition by me, and it's because I like lemon. And it really does make the soup fragrant. So you've got that citrus, you've got the heat, so on and so forth. Ah, so good. And then the one thing that I didn't add, and again, this is me, I just don't particularly care for miso. I chose not to add the miso into the soup. Okay. I'm gonna give this a little stir. And I'm now got some apple cider vinegar. Guess what? I'm gonna eyeball it. You're supposed to add a couple tablespoons, and I just kind of like drizzle a little into the broth. And there you have it. Now all you have to do is sit back and wait for it to cook.